This is one of the strangest things you would ever see today. An unusual funeral ritual called the Broken Casket Burial, where mourners and loved ones aggressively manhandle the casket of a deceased from the point of the ceremony to the grave site, where by the time they get to the deceased grave, the casket is either scratched, broken, or completely ruined. Now, this is commonly practiced among certain tribes in Ghana. However, for disclaimer, I'm not sure what it's called. I was the one who just called it a broken casket funeral. It might be known as another name in their culture, but it does seem like something that a lot of Ghanaians might be familiar with. Or maybe not. In one of our previous videos, we talked about the flying casket phenomenon that is being practiced in some parts of Africa. And I mentioned in that video that Ghanaians have a similar practice, but not quite the same as that of the flying casket. And I also said we will talk about it in another video. This is the video where we would explore the unusual funeral practice that is being done among certain groups of people in Ghana, where it appears that a deceased is being buried in a damaged casket. The problem is, not many people know what this broken casket is about. There is no specific reason why these mourners are doing what they are doing to the casket of their loved one. However, there have been a few explanations in various instances, and we will talk about them in this video. But before we continue, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and also comment where you're watching from. Now, one thing I noticed about this video circulating around the internet is that not many Ghanaians are even aware of it. Some people in Ghana don't know that this goes on in their country. But the thing is, of all the videos I've seen that is similar to this, all of it happened in Ghana. So it's safe to say that this practice is exclusive to certain tribes or community in Ghana. From my observation, it appears that the broken casket funeral ritual is of two types. One where the mourners are aggressive, but the casket is not destroyed, like we see in this video. There's a lot of aggression and shuffles. However, by the time the casket gets to its grave, it's pretty much in good shape as the aggression continues. And then the one where the casket is ruined and damaged up to the point of burial. Now, it's not clear if these two types makes any difference, but I would guess it does. Another major disclaimer, I am not Ghanaian, so clearly I would not know the true nature of this practice. I am going based on research, based on what people have said about it, and based on what some of my Ghanaian friends have told me about it, the little that they know, because some of them were just as shocked as I was. And so, if you are Ghanaian and you're very familiar with the main purpose of this practice, feel free to share in the comments why this is done. But so far, this is what we know. Now, the first thing you can observe in a lot of this kind of burial is that the mourners are usually wearing red and black outfits, which according to some Ghanaians indicates that the deceased person was young. A first explanation had it that the reason for the aggressiveness for most situations or for most cases is that the youths are expressing their grievances towards death. It's some kind of apostrophe or an ode to death. So pretty much the first explanation is claiming that the youths are expressing their frustration at the fact that death took one of their own at a very young age, and that the anger and the aggressiveness is not necessarily towards the deceased, but towards the phenomenon that is the death that took the life of the deceased. Now, the second explanation is quite on the contrary. The claim holds the possibility that the deceased person must have been a notorious person in the community when alive, and might have been on the practice of doing the same to other people's caskets who had died before him when he was alive. So pretty much this is a storm. As one user points out a comment being made in one of these videos suggesting that somebody in the crowd had said, the deceased person used to do this to other people when he was alive, so now let's do it back to him. That could actually be a separate reason from if the deceased was a known notorious wild person who was aggressive. And the third claim suggests that the person might have wronged someone when he was alive and never had a chance or never did seek out forgiveness or reparations for the wrongdoings that they may have done to somebody before they passed. So these are the basic three explanations that I have seen regarding the aggressive broken casket burial being done in Ghana. Aside from the common ones where people are saying the body refused to be buried and they are forcing it, assuming that it's a spirit that is pulling it back, I would guess that, from our flying casket video, if a body is refusing to be buried, they would most likely take it to the home of the supposed witches and wizards or people who had caused their death. But in this case, we see the mourners and the loved ones forcefully dragging the casket to the grave aggressively. I mean, they could easily have done it nicely and calmly, but they chose to do it forcefully, which signifies that this is some specific ritual or practice to the deceased and is not necessarily them dragging with the spirits. As more videos like this go viral on the social media space, many people have really criticized it, saying that it's disrespectful and that it should be abolished. However, it seems like this is a long practice being done by certain groups of people in Ghana. It seems like it didn't start today, and there are even suggestions that if the person's death is not ordinary or self-induced, that this could also be what they would do to them in the end. But one thing I have heard for the most part, one thing I have seen, or one thing that was common in the explanation is usually the fact that, the comments that the deceased person used to do this to other people, so they have to do it to them. It's kind of like what has been recurrent in a lot of these videos that are similar, which pretty much suggests that the more you do it to someone, the more likely it will be done to you when you pass. So with all this crowd doing this to this deceased person, it looks like this is something that may not stop. It looks like something that may continue on. My original interpretation is the happy birthday practice that we do in some part of Nigeria or in the world, where if it's your birthday, people pour you all sorts of dirty water, all sorts of nasty things. People do pretty much mean things to you, but it's in endearment, it's in celebration to your birthday and not specifically malicious. So I am guessing, if I had to guess, that this aggressiveness is some form of endearment, is some form of send-off, is some form of last respect in an unusual way, is some form of the way that, because in this video you could see them dancing and celebrating, so it's looking like it's just an unusual way that they express their final love and respect to the deceased person. So as disrespectful as it may seem to a lot of us, this might just be a show of respect to the deceased loved one, which means that this is what the person may have wanted. It's really strange that someone would want this. I guess it's what it is, that it is. But you guys let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the broken casket funeral practice. And again, if you're familiar with this culture, please feel free to let us know in the comments what it is about and why it's being done. Thank you for watching.